Okay, good morning. How are you today? I'm pumped to be here, and so is my partner, Luis, one of Mexico's foremost baristas. As you know, barista is the name for the professional brewer of coffee. And we greeted you already with coffee due to lack restrictions. And as I was saying, as a trick for you not to fall asleep while I'm talking, because my mom would really uh, be embarrassed if that happened. So let's start by a little raise of hands. Who is a coffee drinker here? Wow, cool. Are there any non-coffee drinkers in the room? Okay, great. Well, there's always chance for self-improvement, so maybe we can do something about it today. I'm really pumped to talk to you about Mexican coffee, and as I was saying, due to lack restrictions, we started giving you some coffee so you can start tasting what it is about. So let me just, we're actually giving you some filtered brewed coffee. And I wanted to start by saying this because we tend to see filtered coffee as a minor way of extracting coffee, of brewing it, as opposed to, say, espresso with all its Italian cultural sophistication that we have inherited. But in reality, filtered coffee allows you to taste the nuances of the terroir of a coffee much better even than a espresso brewed coffee. So that's what you're having right now. And just for kicks, my partner will be brewing a filtered coffee as I speak. But we're already serving it to you. It's more just as an illustration of the process, which basically consists in grinding the coffee beans and having the molecules of the ground coffee get in touch with water very carefully so that the molecules that can mix with water do so, and the oils separate, but in a balanced way. And that's why we refer to a balanced cup of coffee. That's what we mean when we say that. So you're familiar with this type of brewing, but probably not as much with this kind of method, which is known as a chemex, which is actually very old. It's from mid-century, mid-20th century. And it's really interesting because the principles are the same. It's just that this is being done by hand, being made by hand with a more slow process and crafty process. But in the end, when brewed properly, a filtered coffee is just as excellent. So now I would like to tell you a little bit about Mexican coffees. Mexican coffees, and especially talking about specialty coffees, which is what we're bringing to you today. Has anybody heard before the term specialty coffee? Because it's worth telling you a little bit about it. Specialty coffee is a term that began to be used around the 70s in Europe, actually, to identify coffees that have a real demanding process of quality control. So the farmer really takes a lot of care to make the best of his coffee crop. Just to give you an idea, or as an analogy, Mexican coffee, coffee itself is cupped and evaluated just as wine is. So for example, you can have a wine that has more than 80 points on the Robert Parker list, right? That means that it's a serious wine, right? And if you go to a 90 points wine on a Parker list, that means that wine is really spectacular, right? The same thing happens with coffee, it's just that culturally we're not that familiar with it. So what we're bringing to you is coffees that are above 85 points according to the standards of the International Coffee Quality Institute. What you will taste in the cup you're having, please feel free to ask for more if you like. You will feel some notes of chocolate, of kind of a little bit of bitter chocolate aftertaste. And you will also feel a little bit of almonds when you taste the coffee we're serving you. And those are qualities that are very characteristic of Mexican coffee. Mexican coffee is very full-bodied. It doesn't have as much acidity, for example, as Ethiopian coffees, but it does have certain sweetness and certain bitterness that is really characteristic and really delicious. It's really full-bodied coffees that are remarkable. Just to give you an idea, and I would like to talk now about what's behind the cup that you're drinking. Mexico has a very marked tropical belt all around it between both chains of mountains known as the Sierras. And you have this wonderful region for coffee. Coffee arrived in Mexico around 1740. So it's been there for a while. It came from Yemen, through the Caribbean, and from South America. And it's been grown there ever since. And we have even records from European travelers like Humboldt talking about the wonders of Mexican coffee around 1790. We have, as I was saying, this tropical belt here of very fertile, high-altitude terroirs. They are around 1,200 meters all the way to 1,700 meters. And if you see it from a political perspective, so to speak, we have about over 15 states within the Mexican Republic. The Mexican Republic has 31 states, and as well as Mexico City. And there you can find about 15 states where you can find amazing coffees. So right now the coffee we're tasting comes from the state of Veracruz, which is really close to the Atlantic. Actually, it's about 3 to 4 hours by road from Mexico City, just to give you a sense of location. And being in this tropical fertility belt provides us with amazing, amazing terroirs. And what's been happening in the last years as this specialty coffee market has been growing is that many companies and also the government of our country have been pushing for a better quality, but as a means to open markets for this coffee worldwide. But in itself being a means to more than just providing our people with amazing coffee experiences. What we're aiming at is really contributing to the conservation of these amazing ecosystems and to promote also social and economic stability on the regions where this coffee is being grown. On your way to these coffee lands within Mexico, it's quite an experience. You're facing this type of landscapes all along the way, so it's really an experience. And I'm saying this because you must go there. You must see it to believe it, like we say. And you have these beautiful rivers, you have all these fertile lands. And if you go deeper into the tropical forests of Mexico, you arrive to these high altitudes where coffee grows. These are, of course, coffee cherries, and they haven't been photoshopped. Nature designs them like that already. They're really beautiful. And there you meet with these groups of families that have been producing coffee for years and have really faced historically harsh conditions. But under the new paradigm of specialty coffee, which is very related to fair trade and direct relationship with producers and their communities, we really focus on a holistic approach towards the coffee phenomena, if you will. So let me show you, for example, this is the coffee that when it's being picked, right, at the top moment of the harvest season, I mean. These producers only picked the mature red cherries of the coffee to ensure that we have the best quality in terms of the balance of alkaloids, sugars, and all the different components that give you this amazing tasting coffee. Coffee is worldwide is basically consists of two different species, as you may know. One of them being Robusta, which is the most common species of coffee, which you kind of can grow anywhere, as opposed to Arabica coffees, which really demand very special terroirs for them to thrive. And we only work, of course, with Arabica coffees, which really give you these taste nuances that we've been mentioning. And I'm saying this because really to achieve this quality is really that. It's quite an achievement on behalf of the producer. So we work with these producers to help them improve their agroecological practices so they have the best productivity in terms of their crop and also really provide us with delicious coffees. Just to give you a hint of what this implies that these coffees, taste-wise speaking, are not as loaded with caffeine, for example, and all these types of alkaloids as the commercial coffees we have. So this paradigm that we have inherited culturally, that coffee helps you prevent sleep and all that and may pump your heart a little bit too much, that comes from the low quality of the coffees we usually buy in supermarkets and all that. These coffees are much balanced. The coffee you're having is very, very unlikely. It depends on each person's metabolism, but it's really unlikely that it will affect you and stress you or anything like that. That's because those are lower quality coffees. These are more about terroir, as I was saying, and the notes that you have when you taste it. If you want to have another cup, I also recommend you to start enjoying your coffee through the nose, to feel those sweet notes that you will easily perceive when you have this cup of coffee that you probably won't get on a commercial coffee or even in specialty coffees from African regions. This is a really a very specific terroir that we are enjoying here. This is how coffee is dried. Coffee is dried on these beds made of concrete. So everything that the producer does after picking his cherries and depulping them and having them dried is really organic. It doesn't harm in any shape or form the environment. So when we talk, for example, about organic coffee, those labels and those certifications are really important. But in reality, a special coffee is organic by definition. I guess that's what I'm trying to stress. So it's really exciting to work around coffee because it's really good for your health. It's part of your life when you're having a good time with a friend or having an introspective time with yourself. And also knowing that it really doesn't harm the environment. Actually, it contributes to sustaining a balanced ecosystem, right? So I guess what I'm trying to stress here is that when you consume this type of products, you're really contributing to their sustenance. So because we have to ensure through this type of responsible trade that we're doing that we contribute so these environments around coffee exist 50 years from now, 100 years from now, because we have eroded them way too much, not only in Mexico, everywhere. It's been a trend, a historic trend, but we're working towards changing that, and we're confident that we will make it. On the way, you have, in these coffee lands of Mexico, you have really cool places that you want to stay, right? You have like these eco lodges, and you have these wonderful former haciendas where you can really spend the night. And I guess I'm trying to stress this as well, because it's not just about the coffee, it's not just about the landscape, it's also about the culture, right? Because I was saying coffee arrived in the 1700s to Mexico, and then it exploded, so to speak, in the 19th century, thanks mostly to European entrepreneurs from mostly from Germany. And so we have, when you travel to Mexico and travel around Mexico, of course, is famous for its beaches and its sun and all that. But traveling around coffee is really amazing because you have these beautiful landscapes, as I've shown you, but also you have these amazing paths into history, right? So you arrive to these like really cozy hotels that display all the inheritance we have from the Viennese culture of the 19th century, you know, the Austro-Hungarian influence that we have historically there. So I really encourage you to come down and see it for yourselves, because it's really a whole experience. And I guess what we've been trying to convey is that when we speak about the coffee experience, it's not only about tasting these amazing coffees, which I'm hoping you're enjoying, but also about everything that surrounds producing this country. And at the core of what we do are the families of producers. These people in these coffee-producing regions are the most spectacular people you ever meet. They're warm, they're faithful, they're hardworking, and they have so much wisdom around the land that it's really a pleasure working with them. And you get to these, you get to like kind of to the kernel of things when you really go deep into coffee. And it's very important, for example, to see how coffee contributes to keeping together the kernel of our society, which is family, right? So you have families working together around coffee. And we are at this very exciting moment right now in which the younger generations that didn't want to continue producing coffees as their parents and grandparents did are really becoming excited, because they're seeing that the world is really keen about their achievements in terms of producing these amazing coffees. So it really, we're witnessing a very interesting change in society in Mexico around the production of coffee. So you have the grandparent, the father, the son, right? And it's really interesting because through this fair trade of coffee that we do, we have the young generations. You actually can see the pen on top of the ear of the boy, because he was doing homework while we were there working with them, because he wants to be an engineer, right? And he will be one. So it's amazing to see how with this little work that we're doing, many of us there in Mexico, we're really changing the culture for the improvement of the society, but also to, in the process, we're also benefiting the environment and benefiting the economy, and also being able to give to the world these riches of the soil that we have, these amazing terroirs we have for coffee. So this is pretty much what I wanted to share with you, and I'd really love it if you guys would be keen enough to drink another cup of coffee, because it won't stress you, I promise. And probably after all we've said, you'll enjoy it. So if we can have more cups of coffee for anybody who wants, that would be great. And I think we have chance for a bit of time. How many minutes do we have left? Because maybe if we had a question or any comments, I would love to hear some feedback from you, if anybody wants to share any thoughts. Right. Please do.
I would like to know why you don't see the Mexican coffee in brands, in parks, everywhere, in the supermarket here, compared with Colombian, for example, that now
Right. That's a wonderful question. It all goes down to country policies, and also certain South American countries have focused on producing huge quantities of commercial coffees that you can find all over the world. As I was saying, commercial coffee is the coffee that when you cup it and grade it, it is below 80 points. And that's why they are all over the world. I guess the interesting approach that the specialty coffee phenomenon, which is really new in the world, it's only 10 years old pretty much. The opportunity it opens for us is to bring these amazing coffees with a new perspective, not this commoditized perspective, but a decommoditized perspective on coffee, where you start enjoying coffee from a terroir perspective, from its tasting notes and qualities. And I guess that's what we're working on right now in Mexico, to bring these amazing coffees to the world. So we want to really work for the most demanding palates such as yours. And a shorter version of the answer to your question is we're working on it. Any other comments? Yeah. Right now, Luis is actually in the process of brewing the coffee, which is really in principle the same that you would do with your filtered coffee at home, right? But what this allows us to do is to really take control of the chemical reactions involved in a coffee infusion. What we do when we work with a filtered coffee machine, like we did, we take care of all those variables to provide you with a really full-bodied, but at the same time light and nuanced cup as the one that you are enjoying right now. And as you can see, it's a slow process, and it's really interesting to understand that what goes on here is really an interesting chemical reaction that aims to bringing out all the flavors and notes of the coffee. So what we will do once it's finished brewing, I will ask Luis to approach you and have you smell the coffee as it's been brewed, because you will really get a sense of these amazing sweet notes, chocolate notes, nutty notes, that this coffee provides us with. And it's really quite a beautiful thing when you start to think about the coffee experience all the way down to the origin, right? That this thing that you're drinking, this cup that you're drinking in the morning, there's hands behind it, right? There's somebody actually picked that coffee from a coffee plant and triggered a whole process that brought it to you, right? So that's I guess what really can change our approach to things, and in the end help us enjoy them more, know them better, and turn coffee into really gourmet experience, if you will, which it should be by definition, but sometimes we tend to not see it as such. So we remove the filter, and now we have this delicious coffee that you've already tasted with your mouth, if you will. Now I would like you to enjoy it with your tongue. Entonces vamos a acercarles, no, pero que huelan desde el decantador. Sí, entonces acércate por favor. As you can see, the Chemex is some sort of a decanter of sorts. It's made of crystal. And if you kind of try to, on your memory, to associate what you're smelling with what you just drank, you'll see how interesting it is to start appreciating coffee from the smell sense as opposed to just your palate, right? How was it for you? Nice? Oh, okay. Well, it might help remedy it. Yeah. Pedro Guzmán. Right. So he'll go all the other way. Yeah. Okay, so let's just let Luis, let's please give my friend a hand. And we really thank you for your attention. And we hope that you will soon be enjoying more Mexican coffees in London.